Hello, I'm Jamie Cabbage, Teaching and Learning Specialist at the Delaware County Intermediate Unit, and I'm excited to talk about the work that we've been doing with the Marple Newtown School District, looking at their ELA curriculum this past summer. Working with the curriculum team, as well as administrators and a group of teachers, we followed the process laid out by Larry Ainsworth in rigorous curriculum design. Now, following Ainsworth's process, we looked at 5 primary steps to really think about intentionally aligned scope and sequence of curriculum. Step 1 is to prioritize the standard. So to do that, we had the teachers look at the standards, dig into them, and really decide what would be priority. And to consider that, they had to think about, did a standard have value in the next grade level? Did it have value in multiple disciplines within that grade level? Was it a skill that was valuable beyond school in life? And also considering, was it eligible content on the PSSAs or Keystones?
Well, we kind of had to think about our students and put the standards, choose the standards that maybe would require them to think more deeply. Also standards that would carry over into the next grade, and standards that would maybe be hit multiple times throughout the year in different units.
Well, I think the value of it was a lot of teachers don't spend a lot of time in looking at the standards. Instead, they look at the resources that they're using as far as their curriculum is concerned. So when they had the time and we had the time to really explore them and dig deep through them, it made sense, and then we had accountability for it and we kind of owned it. And so when it came time to then go further, it really made sense, and we could apply so much better and so much deeper into what we wanted to do. But it was really neat seeing across the grade levels how the standards that we picked were, whether it was first grade or second grade, and how everyone kind of picked the same things and how vertically it flowed. And then it was kind of like an eye-opener of, my goodness, this makes sense. This makes so much more sense.
What's important.
And how it's going to build, and that was the great thing to see how it would build vertically.
The process helped sort of take a little bit off of our plate.
We unburdened the
Yes.
curriculum so that now we can take a breather and really focus on the things that are so important and not worry about the things that they don't need at all.
Yep.
And we moved on to step 2, which was to name units of study. According to Larry Ainsworth, units of study should be categorized 3 ways. 1, based on topic, 2, based on the skill, 3, based thematically. So teachers had to think about each unit and really focus their attention on, am I teaching students about a particular topic? Do I want them to really emphasize a certain skill? Or do I want them to be able to synthesize a theme across what we're reading and implementing?
Naming of the units, we had to decide, were they topical, thematic, or skill-based? And that was a struggle for our group. It kind of felt like we were trying to pull things out of thin air in the beginning, and it took a while, but once we stopped struggling, we were able to really focus, like, what do we want the kids to get out of this unit? Is it thematic and character education based? Is this one skill based? So once we started to get into those discussions, it moved very quickly and really helped us focus. What is our purpose? What do we want the kids to walk away with at the end of that unit?
Once we worked through that process, step 3 was to prioritize the standards. So taking the priority standards that they did for their grade, they looked at the units they designed and assigned 3 to 4 priority standards. Now these priority standards would be the driving focus for that unit and would align ultimately with their summative assessment. Once that was complete, step 4 was to align the pacing calendar. So now that teachers had their units aligned with their priority standards, they thought about looking at the beginning to the end of the year, what made sense logically based on the school calendar, but also developmentally where the students were. What is the best order for the sequence of these units?
Well, essentially, the priority standards, we tried to lay them out so that anything that was a priority standard, we would make sure that we were going to have to assess that. So then we had our supporting standards that helped us, back those priority standards that may not be, that weren't the most essential to learn, but they help us get to those priority standards, to be able to develop assessments that meet those priority standards, to make sure that we're hitting on the main ones throughout each unit. Then trying to find materials to match up with the curriculum. It's made it a little bit easier because we know the standards a lot better and which ones are the main standards that we have to get throughout the year.
And then once we developed our units, talked about materials, it was really then laying out everything within the time frame of the school year. So we were trying to look at, as fourth grade students, where they would be developmentally, what should lay out first, where would we hit winter break, and it seemed so overwhelming when we were just beginning the conversations, and then kind of fell so easily as we were going through it. We said, okay, reading fiction first, and as we went through the weeks, it actually just took us naturally right into winter break, exactly where we wanted to do it. And then we were able to get certain things in before the PSSA testing, and then take us right to the end of the year, and it felt almost seamless and easy at that point. And I think by focusing on the priority standards, we got away from, well, we need to test every week. We need to give a test every 2 weeks, and it's about the grades. We really talked about what was our target for that unit. These assessments fit those targets. Let's prove that the students can master that unit, and then we would know that the next unit is going to continue to build on that. And as they keep mastering what our goals are according to the standards, we're building throughout the year so that by the end of the year they're ready for that next year's curriculum, rather than, well, they need a test on Friday or they need a test every 2 weeks.
After that, we got to step 5, and that is creating the unit planners. So this is where teachers are starting to now look at these units they've designed and start to think about, what are our big ideas, essential questions, what are the learning objectives that they want students to be able to achieve. And so with that, they really start to think about assessments that are aligned, all using the language of tying it back to those priority standards, and thinking about what are materials and instructional activities that can align to this to really show the students understanding and grasp of these skills laid out in the standards.
As you go to that last step, in step 5, and you're creating your units, you're constantly going back, like, here's the skill, and are we assessing that, and are we addressing it, and are we pre-assessing it, and are we summatively assessing it? So everything goes back to that purpose. It makes it very meaningful, but it's been really beneficial to see it across the grade levels. Particularly for just the middle school, but looking at the wall of priority standards from, elementary to high school, it's meaningful. It helps us to know where we are, and as a 7th grade teacher or an 8th grade teacher, where you kind of fit into that, and making sure that everything is covered. I think it's really made sure that we've aligned our work to those standards.
So now that teachers have created these units, their next step in this process is, throughout this coming year, is to implement those units. And the thing that we have to remember about curriculum is that this is a living, breathing entity. And so everything that we designed in the summer, we have to actually now practice with the students and reflect, both as practitioners, as grade level teams, vertically talking about that to say what went well, what didn't. Make revisions as we go through this year with the awareness of our plan that we initially came up with. And as we go through the school year, to stop, reflect, make changes, so that by the end of this school year, we have an idea of what tweaks that we need to shift, what was successful, what wasn't, so we can make those changes and try again the next year with a bit more confidence in our delivery with that. And the thing that we really understand with this whole process is that curriculum is not something that can be handed to us by outside forces. Real true curriculum is designed by the practitioners, the teachers in the classroom that know the students, know the standards, and know the best way to get the students there.